Hello, this is James and welcome to another Early Access Spotlight, and this time I'm taking a look at Second Coming, a game from developer Seen in a Dream. So this game has actually been on Steam since the 10th of February and its planned release date is to be by autumn, and according to the Steam page it currently has 5 chapters or levels, but according to the forums they're planning on 40 levels, which they say should be done by the middle of the year. And well, it pretty much is the middle of the year now, so those 40 levels should be done, so maybe they just need to update the Steam page. Now, according to the game, I'm on episode 2, so not entirely sure if episodes, chapters and levels are the same thing, but yeah, I don't know. Also on the Steam forum, they say they're a 2-man team with full-time jobs, so they can't focus all their time onto this game, but it seems to me they're pretty passionate about it, and they're on the forums when they can be. So onto the game. Now this is heavily story driven, and as I said, seems to be divided into episodes. And what seems to be is the first half of each episode is all story, and the second half is gameplay. Now the gameplay is a turn-based strategy, kind of like XCOM, and in fact even the Steam page admits it's similar to XCOM. But we'll get to that in a bit, because combat isn't all there is to the gameplay sections. So in the gameplay sections, you're going through something of a maze, and your goal is to get to the other end, and on the way you'll be discovering lore, solving like puzzles, and of course fighting aliens. Being controlled XCOM style sometimes works here and sometimes doesn't. For one thing, your guys can only see a short distance, so at first you'll want to move slowly because you never know when an alien will appear and you want to keep your guys together, so that way it works. On the other hand, it makes backtracking take far too long, like with moving one person at a time, and you will need to backtrack. For example, when you get a switch to open the door or need to get to a safe room to recover health. Now, navigating the screen around the map can be pretty annoying as well. For one thing, you can only move the camera by clicking and holding the left mouse button and dragging the mouse, which is the same mouse button you use to give orders. So it's easy to accidentally move a soldier where you don't want to when moving the camera, so you have to make sure you click somewhere outside where someone can move. Also, the camera always has a fixed view, you can't zoom in or out, so when you're on a big map, a big and complicated map, and want to look for where something is, it can take a long time to pan across it and you might get lost. Okay, so for the combat. Now, the only XCOM I've played is Enemy Unknown, which is terrible, I know. So my experience isn't great, but it's similar in that it cycles through your soldiers and the enemy's turns, and your guys can move once and attack each turn, and they can only move a certain number of spaces each turn. Unfortunately, at least not yet in the game, you don't have many options at all. It's really not that deep. As far as I can tell, you can't take cover, and at least at the moment your guys all have the same options, as in they each have one weapon and can't do anything else other than move and attack. So fights just boil down to getting as close to the enemy as you can and attacking until it dies, and hoping you don't die. Another problem is that your guys miss far too frequently, even if they're just like one square away. Now, as I said, I am only on the second episode, and more options might open as the game progresses, but it's not a great first impression. Now, for the story parts, the story is told by a narrator while you look at drawn, mostly still images. It's according to Steam, they call it a game book style. It looks pretty cool. So the basic story is that an alien ship comes to Earth. Religious fanatics claim it's God to come to take them away. For some reason they're taken seriously. And so our 4 main characters board the ship and enter into what appears to be a Garden of Eden. It's pretty mental, but it's quite entertaining. I got quite into it. Now, you won't just be sitting and listening during these parts, because there are narrative choices. Now, I played through the first episode twice, and the choices here only seem to be smoke and mirrors, in that no matter what I chose, I always ended up going down the same path, and there doesn't seem to be branching paths. On the second episode, it did seem more likely that different choices can lead down different paths, so not 100% sure if the choices will ultimately matter, but it seems likely. Now, there are a few things that make it hard to get totally absorbed into the story. For one thing, there are regular typos, S's are frequently missing where they should be. And it's also pretty regular that the narrator says something completely different to what's written, usually something she said before.
The room appears empty. Nothing of interest here.
And quite rarely you'll get two different narrators saying different things at once.
The human on a metal slab is breathing slowly, clearly alive, but under sedation and unable to move or speak.
Now, of course, this is early access, so it's likely these things will get sorted out before full release. So, in conclusion, I like what they're going for, but it isn't perfect. I would like to say that while the combat isn't great, it makes up for it with everything else the game has. But it's hard because everything else it has flaws, whether it's difficulty moving the camera around a level or there being regular typos. And I'm not sure how much can be fixed before the full release. As I said on the forum, they should have all 40 levels done by the middle of the year, so the rest of the time should be spent on bug fixes. So a lot of this could be fixed, and hopefully it will get better. If it were easier to move the camera around, the combat had a bit more to it, and the typos weren't so frequent, and the narrator always says what she's supposed to do, I would not hesitate to recommend supporting this. As it is, if you like a good sci-fi story and enjoy XCOM style turn-based combat and are willing to put up with some flaws, it's worth considering. It's currently $6.99 on Steam. So that all said, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.